All right. Well, hi, hello, and welcome to Building a Safer Future with Google Cloud and Egnyte. Today, we're focusing on maintaining compliance, balancing complexity, and ensuring continuity. And today's exciting webinar is sponsored by Google Cloud and Egnyte and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Jess Steinbach. I'm with Actual Tech Media, and I'm so happy that I get to be here with all of you today because I absolutely love talking about innovative ideas that can help us balance and enhance those all important aspects of our infrastructure, our growth planning, all of our goal setting that we're doing right now as 2024 comes to a close. Because it can be a little hard to get all three, right? To enhance, to protect, to comply, to simplify. That was a whole lot of things. And that simplification side of it, well, that can be a bit tricky. So today we are going to explore transformational approaches to your security and operations that will keep users secure as well as compliant without increasing that burnout possibility that comes with overly complex systems and tools. We have a great chat ahead of us with two thought-leading expert presenters. I cannot wait to bring them out on stage with me and get this conversation started. So I'm going to roll through a few housekeeping points to help you get the most out of your time here with us today, and then we will get things started. Let's take a little tour of your audience console. All right, so we're going to start out with the handouts and questions window. First, let's jump into that questions tab. Now, this is the best place to get involved, get interactive, and post all of your insightful questions, your comments, your general thoughts, feedback, ideas, whatever you have rolling around in your head. We want to hear from you. You may have already seen we've got the Egnyte team here answering questions. We've got the Google Cloud team here answering questions. Our speakers are going to try to answer questions when they're not speaking. We got a whole lot going on behind the scenes here, and that all starts with you. So make sure that you are reaching out and asking those questions as we go through our session here today. Now, I do also want to say right now, let's give it a little test run. If you haven't already said a hi, a hello, given a little wave to the community here with us today on this beautiful fall pre-Halloween week or whatever else you've got going on this week, let us know. Let us know what you're up to and how your day is going. We absolutely want to be chatting with you as we get started here. Now, that questions window, that is also where you're going to reach out and let us know if you have any technical issues. Knock on wood, hopefully that doesn't come up, but we all know that the gremlins get in the system sometimes. So if they do, here's your first step, browser refresh. I promise you that a browser refresh is basically going to clear out any of those little gremlins. But if they're really clinging on, they got a hold of you today, no problem. If you still have some issues after your browser refresh, you're going to post in the questions window and our crew will be there to help you out. All right, so we covered the questions tab. Let's hop over to the handouts tab. Make sure you spend some time checking out those handouts. There's some really cool follow-ups to our conversation today. And I'm going to say this to you again, this conversation is just the start. This is just the start. This is just piquing your interest, and there's lots more to dig into. We got a lot to cover very quickly, so you're going to want to continue those conversations after we wrap. So make sure you've clicked on that link and you spend a little time there after we wrap up our webinar today. All right, the last thing I want to point out, if your eyes went right over to that $250 Amazon gift card icon, I get it. That's very exciting. We do have a $250 Amazon gift card we will be giving away as a prize drawing at the end of our webinar, so stay tuned for that. Now, of course, you do need to be here in live attendance at the webinar in order to qualify to win that prize, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. If you're not sure what those T's and C's are, no problem. If you go back to that handy-dandy handouts tab that we were chatting about earlier, you can find the full T's and C's waiting for you there. All right, my friends. Well, that was a lot of information very quickly. I think it's time that we get this show on the road. As you can see, we have quite the dynamic duo waiting in the wings to chat with us today. And I am so excited to introduce you all to our expert presenters. Today, we will be hearing from Preston Hogue, Head of ISV Partner Marketing Security Ecosystem at Google Cloud, and Chris Lahiri, Co-founder and Chief Security Officer at Egnyte. What a crew, right? Preston and Chris, thank you so much for making time for coming to join us here today. I know you have a ton of great information ahead of us, lots of helpful insights. I cannot wait to jump in. So Preston, I am going to hand things on over to you. Take it away.
Thank you, Jess. Very excited to be here again with Egnyte, and especially excited to also be here with Chris as we partner together to tell the story of Google Cloud and Egnyte and how we provide differentiation. And when it really comes down to Google, it's all about the history of innovation. In fact, this innovation has helped build the foundation of what we know today as the application of the internet, application infrastructure of the internet. And that infrastructure, on top of it, we've built what we all know today as Google Cloud. And so when we start to expand on that and really look at how is that helping security, how is it working with partners like Egnyte, there are some key concepts such as a shared fate model. And that shared fate model is between us, the customer, and ultimately a partner such as Egnyte. Then it's also building on purpose-built hardware. And we know how critical that is for AI. And then we expand and look at open source and key technologies such as Kubernetes that Google founded and is now leveraged by all cloud service providers. And then there's other concepts such as ultimately beyond core, which we know in the industry as zero trust from that infamous white paper that Google wrote about really looking at how we change the barriers between applications and users. And so we've taken all of our learnings across Google Cloud and across Google by interfacing with 3 billion users. And that gives us very interesting insight into the threats and the risks and the vulnerabilities that ultimately we're able to leverage to build unique security solutions. And so today we're really going to talk to you about 3 core layers and foundational elements that we believe, when we combine with key partners like Egnyte, are going to provide differentiation for you as a customer. The first, just as in any relationship, it's all about having a foundation of trust. The second is all about innovation. And when you think about innovation, it's not just about the innovations that Google Cloud builds. It's about innovations that Google Cloud builds with partners like Egnyte, but that we also integrate with customers such as yourself to provide unique solutions. And then, as we've been talking about, it really is about partnerships. The reality of the situation is the security landscape is massive. The threats are massive. And there's no way to be able to really address this on our own at Google Cloud. We must be able to work with these key partnerships to address these key challenges. And so when we look at that trust, it first starts off with you own and control your own data, which is critically important for you as a customer. The second to that is also about streamlining network configurations. We're no longer talking about being in your own data center. We're about talking about where Google Cloud can provide elasticity across the globe and be able to spin up new environments anywhere in the world within a short amount of time. This becomes critically important for security workloads, especially when you need new protections and you need them right away. The third element of this is also about your data and your applications and making sure that they're available ultimately when you need them. And we leverage that elasticity to be able to ensure that we can do that. And then, of course, every single customer, every one of you, you all have different compliance needs, whether that's GLBA, whether that's PCI, whether that's HIPAA, whether that is FedRAMP, whatever that happens to be, and wherever you are within the globe, we make sure that's built into Google Cloud and integrated within key partners in our solutions that we deliver together. And also, when it comes down to our technology footprint, we believe it's critically important that we understand how it's having an impact on the overall environment. And we believe that we separate ourselves from our competitors in our approach here. And when it comes down to AI, we know how foundational this is for any of our future protection within, the cloud infrastructure. And when it comes down to what Google is able to provide, we not only provide a machine learning platform, but we also provide key technologies such as Gemini, but we also are the only company that is a cloud service provider that provides that end-to-end AI solution where we build all elements of AI and are able to partner with companies such as Egnyte to build those into their core technologies. And that next layer we want to talk about is all about our innovation. When it comes down to data cloud, it's ensuring that we can provide that end-to-end, a data lake, data analytics, data warehouses, bringing all of that together. And that foundation of data ultimately is also what's leveraged by AI and is also ultimately, of course, is something that we know that we need to protect. And then that modern infrastructure cloud would clearly, we look at how we're innovating around our core technologies as that open source that we talked about. And being able to, focus on, those key technologies such as Anthos that allows us to leverage multi-cloud. Because remember, we as a cloud provider ultimately recognize that there are other cloud providers. And we want to make sure that you are able to take advantage of that core technology such as Anthos so you can ensure that your applications are secure in all of your infrastructures. And then collaboration cloud. And when we really start to talk today about this conversation that we're going to have with Egnyte, looking at workspace, knowing that you are dealing with tons of different files and tons of different key information and making sure that it ultimately has the right level of security. And then when we expand on that and we look at Security Cloud and we zoom out a little bit, Google Cloud is really trying to build an overall platform, a platform that builds into cloud service providers, but not only into Google Cloud, but is something that can clearly expand across all of your cloud environments. And so we look at Security Operations Center and being able to make sure you can look at cloud posture management, making sure that you can look at configuration management. But it also has other core technologies such as data loss prevention and sensitive data protection, and making sure that you can look at those individual files. And then, of course, expanding to SIEM and SOAR and being able to orchestrate all of those incidents. And so when we build on top of this, we're really going to start to expand the conversation today about how Google Cloud interfaces with Egnyte on those key areas of being able to look at something like our data loss prevention solution, our sensitive data protection, and being able to scan all those files, being able to ensure that we can tag those files, being able to ensure we can protect that type of information with partners such as Egnyte, but then being able to ensure that they can really help with secure file storage and also other areas of this core element of data protection that we know all of you need. And so when we look at this innovation and we build on top of these partners, I'm really excited to talk about Egnyte and this very eager technology partner that works with us in an eager way, but also wants to work with each of you in that eager way. And then also, of course, those leading marketing or leading customer success capabilities that we know when we combine with a company like Egnyte that can really provide unique security customer experiences for you as a customer. And so it's also about that history of co-innovation. And Chris is going to talk about this, where Egnyte's been with us since the beginning of Google Cloud, and we've been innovating collectively and together to be able to provide the unique solutions that Chris is going to talk about today. And then, of course, when we zoom out, we know that we need to be able to provide you that full suite of products that address that overall security landscape. And so I'm really, really excited to be able to, expand on this trust that we talked about, the trust that we want to establish with you as a customer of Google Cloud, but also that trust to be able to provide for you in the combination of what Egnyte and Google Cloud ultimately provide together. So I'm very excited to pass it over to my friend Chris, who's really going to expand on the integrations that Egnyte has with Google Cloud.
Thank you for that, Preston. Happy to be here. This was great. Lot of baseline information about Google Cloud. And like you mentioned, Egnyte's been a partner of Google Cloud going back now almost 12 or 13 years. So happy to be here. I always want to first start off with giving our audience a context of what is Egnyte, right? We know we are partners with Google, but Egnyte actually enables companies to protect and manage their business critical data, right? And we do all this by creating a platform that provides content collaboration, protection, and governance. But all of this is built on Google Cloud. And those two really key components of what Preston talked about, the trust and innovation, is something that we cherish. We've collaborated on this for many years, like we've said, and we continue to build on that. So hopefully we get to demonstrate some of these capabilities to our joint customers, right? This is a little bit of an eye chart, but let's call it a marketecture. The main points on this that we want to make is that Egnyte's a very industry vertically focused company. What does that mean? It just means that we collaborate with our customers in each of these industries. AEC stands for the architecture, engineering, construction. Life sciences, FinServ, public sector, they're all sort of self-explanatory, right? But what this means is we go pretty deep into each of these industries and collaborate with our customers and provide them a whole suite of solutions, whether it is content intelligence in terms of collaboration or governance, or in many times just integrated services with all kinds of other SaaS providers, sometimes very industry-specific solutions as well, right? And I'll talk a little bit more about what Egnyte does with the Google Workspace shortly. One of the things I'm by the way the chief security officer, as Jess mentioned earlier. So compliance and cybersecurity and all of that is my team's responsibility. We like to say that there is no company and hence no industry that does not have to adhere to some compliance. We are surprised by how some customers of Egnyte feel like, oh, no, I don't have any compliances to deal with, only to realize that even simple things like GDPR and CCPA have now put, your, let's call it retail industry or some of these other people completely under the lens in terms of data protection and what they are supposed to do. There, like I mentioned, in healthcare and life sciences, there's HIPAA. For financial services, there's always some SEC and FINRA regulations. For many software and consulting companies, there's ISO and sometimes SOC, right? So there's always some amount of compliance required. But what does that mean? What it means is really protecting customers against potentially financial losses, right? And this can come in two flavors, either in these fines that get put on them through some regulating body, or just actually loss of data, either through ransomware attacks or malware attacks and all of that. So there's financial loss, but there are two other really important parts of this equation. One is the time. Nobody accounts for the amount of time that is spent in handling, let's say, inefficient processes or just dealing with frustrations of people who are having to deal with lost work and lost productivity and all of that. And most companies, there's not a single company, I think you can pick even MGM and these really big brands, Sony and all of that, that have not had some amount of reputational damage that has happened as a result of some data breach or the way in which they handled it, right? So it's really important for customers to be aware of what their providers, like an Egnyte or a Google Cloud, or where they run their systems on, what are they doing to help you with data breaches, cybersecurity, compliance posture, and so on, right? One of the thoughts of any engineering or product person is automate. Go ahead and automate, but they miss a lot of the human elements of this. The pandemic, which is now already 4+ years old, has changed work forever, right? People do not work the same way anymore. At best, even with everybody getting back to the office and all of that, at best, everyone is dealing with a hybrid work environment, right? So what does that mean for IT administrators and other companies? You have to deal with security posture or policies and all that that'll handle a really flexible hybrid work environment, right? So how are you supposed to go about helping this? Egnyte has a lot of different solutions on this. I'm sure Google also provides some core capabilities of this on their own Google Workspace. But I want to dive a little deeper into what Egnyte does on in terms of how we collaborate with Google on all the productivity applications and other things that the Google Workspace provides, right? This is a brief example of how the different components of Workspace, whether it's Gmail or Google Drive or even Google Docs, how does Egnyte help address content sensitive data through our own content classification, as well as leveraging some of the new tools that Google has provided in terms of their SDK in how this can be actually leveraged by ITT, right? So this is a very high-level picture, but I think this gives you a little bit deeper detail into how this process really works. Think of it as, let's assume that there is some type of sensitive data that a company needs to pay attention to in terms of how they're going to leverage a DLP solution that they have. It may be a Google DLP solution, or it may be some other third-party DLP solution. But the net out output of what they want is if there are certain rules that the IT team or their governance team decides, how does this work seamlessly, right? So what Egnyte provides is an ability to label sensitive data through our own classification engine, which, by the way, also runs on Google technology behind the scene. That's where a lot of the innovation of what Preston's been talking about, that Google has provided to its partners like Egnyte, is leveraged heavily, right? So what this means is, we are able to tag different types of data as sensitive or public or confidential or any other type of auto tagging that you might end up doing, have that labeled within Google Drive, and also get that reflected in terms of how you can now take action on it. Essentially be able to apply DLP rules or maybe other sort of data protection rules in terms of what can you do. Maybe you don't want to share this type of document, or you restrict the type of sharing or collaboration that you want to allow on those type of specially tagged docs, right? That's one. The other thing is a content safeguard. Many times we've seen, again, this comes about as certain industry requirements. Everybody knows that financial records need to be kept for 7 years, but there are nuances to this. There are things like legal holds that need to apply in some cases. There are different industries, like the construction industry needs to make sure that data has its own life cycle. And that life cycle needs to be more, let's call it thorough, right? It's not just whether you're keeping data and deleting it. There are more things around permissions, like while a project's running, there are lots of things around who has what level of access, right? The collaboration phase, there are lots of external parties and all that work on it. But later, once you finish out a project, there are certain project ending capabilities that you would want to bring in, right? There are some of these aspects that come into this life cycle. There are other things around removing permissions, like during the phase of collaboration, you have all these external people working on it. But afterwards, you probably want to remove or restrict the collaboration or the access privileges on certain files, right? Then there are things like, can you even allow a certain group to download or, like sometimes have a watermark or something like that, because you can view it only, but you can't download just because you're dealing with cross-border type sharing and things like that, right? These are all the preventative controls that are allowed by a tool that handles content lifecycle. And what we are doing is we are partnering with Google and allowing for these same capabilities to come through for the Google Workspace documents that you're working on, right? So we're pretty excited to announce that shortly, and we have quite a few joint customers who are already users of Google Workspace, but are working with Egnyte on some of these enhanced capabilities. I'd kind of like to summarize, because there's a lot of stuff in here. There's years and years of innovation and technology that we are building. But I want to kind of throw back to some comments that Preston made earlier. At the core, Egnyte runs on Google Cloud, which allows us to serve small customers from all the requirements that even a 100-person company needs, to really large companies that are distributed worldwide with all kinds of data residency requirements, which may say that I need this data only in this region in Europe, or like the Middle East, or other things around just horizontal scalability in terms of being able to throw thousands and thousands of compute capacity without us having to go and figure out, hey, how do we deal with this type of large scale deployments, right? That's the core, that's the sort of strength of Google Cloud. But that's at an infrastructure level. The other things that happen are all around the security and access around this. And it's a very well-known fact that Google's security in terms of its network security and its other capabilities that they do with, like VirusTotal and even this paper that Preston was referring to about Beyond Corp has set in motion the overall, I call it the security posture of a company, right? It's almost like a white paper in terms of how should different companies think about cybersecurity. And it's a multi-layered approach. It's never, I need to do all of this to check the box, but it's a gradual collaborative approach. And we work quite closely with Google. We also enhance some of our capabilities by leveraging some of the core hardware and infrastructure capabilities that Google provides us, right? So there's a lot of stuff in here. I feel like from a webinar standpoint, and believe it or not, I haven't even talked about AI, right? This is probably one of my only talks in the last 30 days that AI hasn't come up, because that's almost its own detailed topic. I think all of us are doing a lot of things together, Google with its Gemini being leveraged within Egnyte and all of that, but that's not the focus of this webinar. But it's a really important reflection on how the two companies collaborate together, build on innovation, and provide the best of this to our customers, right? So I'll kind of end with this and pass it over back to you, Preston. And thanks for the opportunity. Hopefully we have a lot of follow-up with our audience, and we are able to answer any questions that come up. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for that awesome overview of Egnyte's technology, and then also how it integrates into core platforms such as Security Command Center. And so encourage all of you to further engage with us and our teams to drill in and see how we can bring a solution with Google Cloud and Egnyte to help you ultimately provide protections for key areas such as data in your environment. So thank you for joining us, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Oh man, thank you both so much for that really wonderful conversation. I was on the edge of my seat. Well, I have a standing desk. I was on the edge of my toes the entire time you were going. And I have to say, Chris, I am coming back for that AI. We have to do a whole session on AI. And I actually hadn't really realized that we had gotten through an entire conversation without digging into AI until you mentioned it. And you're right that it doesn't happen very often these days. So we're marking that. We're going to bring you guys back to have more conversations to expand even more on what we covered today and dig in a bit further. But man, what a great place to start. I am smiling from ear to ear, and I know the audience is as well, because we've also gotten a lot of questions coming in. Now, I do want to say, we talked about this session. We wanted to keep it short and fast, get you in, get you some information, and get you back on about your days. So again, a reminder that this is just the start, the tip of the iceberg, lots more to dig into. So whether you're coming back for future webinars with Google Cloud and Egnyte, which certainly I hope so, but also clicking on that link in your handout. Make sure that you've got that link open and start exploring that information center. Get a little bit more information that's available to you there. I also want to mention that for everyone that asked a question, we have Preston, Chris, the Egnyte crew, the Google Cloud crew here answering questions on live chat. But I know that we didn't get to everybody. There was a lot going on and a lot to get through. So if you asked a question and we didn't get a response back to you, we're going to make sure that those questions get sent to the teams and you'll get responses back. So if you still have that last burning question in your head that you want to make sure that you get answered, post it right now. Get that into the questions window and we will make sure that you get some answers back. Okay, so we've got the handouts tab, we've got the questions coming in. Tony, I see you. Thank you on back to you. Love seeing that the high fives come in from the crew here. Before you all head on out about your days, let's make sure we give away that prize. We've got a $250 Amazon gift card going to someone who is here live and present at the webinar. And that special someone is John Adileta from Texas. John Adileta from Texas. Congratulations to you, John. As always, we will get in touch about you claiming your prize after we wrap the webinar. All right, my friends. Well, I hate to leave it here, but that is where we're going to leave it today. Like I said, I can't wait to pick up this conversation and carry forward with all of you down the line. But I do want to say a really big thank you on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team to Google Cloud and to Egnyte for making this webinar possible, especially to Preston and Chris. You have both given us so much to think about in a very genuine, your passion really comes through as you're speaking, and you're telling us about these cool and innovative opportunities. And I can feel your excitement about each and every single one of them. And that is so fun to be a part of. And I know that all of you out there felt that as well. And so on that note, I do want to say a big thank you to everyone in the audience for joining in, for being a part of this conversation today. I know it's not easy to take time out of your day, and it really does mean a lot to us that you've taken some of your afternoon, your morning, your evening, wherever you're joining us from, to come and participate in this discussion. So I hope that you're carrying this forward into your day and you're talking to the other people and your colleagues, your friends and family. Sit around the dinner table and talk about Google Cloud and Egnyte tonight. However you move this conversation forward in your day, I hope that you've gotten some interesting tidbits that you're taking with you and mulling over. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you all at a webinar again soon. Brian, I see your shout out as well. I appreciate that. I love that. Tons of great information. I would agree. All right, well, I hope that I get to carry a conversation forward with you, a future webinar. And until then, have an absolutely beautiful end to your day. Thanks all.